Hey everybody, welcome back to Gloves Off. Chief Editor of DentistryIQ, David Rice here again with
Deana Zost. If you didn't know.
everybody knows. If you don't know, you know now. But anyway, another big topic today, something I've taught on for years, and it just so happens something Deana's taught on for years too. So I used to call it dentistry and the dating game. But Deana, I know you've got a couple avenues to take us down today between how we treat our new patients, how we treat our existing patients. So let's do it.
All right. I love that you taught on this. Jump in because I was sharing with Dr. Rice before we hit record that about 15 years ago, so I used to take all the new patient phone calls and I would meet the new patient at the front door, like not to scare them, but I wanted to get the door. Hey, I've been waiting all morning to meet you. Like, be excited. And before this patient came in, I'm at the mirror and I'm doing this to my hair and I'm fluffing. And one of the girls at the front said, "Wow, what are you doing? Going on a date?" I was like, "Yeah, kind of. It's a new patient." So it occurred to me, our new patients are kind of like a first date on the most platonic level. And our existing patients, it's kind of like a marriage where you still have to court and woo your spouse.
Yeah, and I will tell you, like, one of the Tony Robbins isms that I love most is treat people the way you did when you first met them, and the relationship will never end.
Yeah,
I think that's where we're going today.
I think that's where we're going too. I just love, I need to go back. You're going to have to speak again on this dentistry and dating. I want to hear it, but I love it because I feel like we're so like-minded. I love it when the universe throws people like us together.
It's
But
fun.
I always think, the new patient, you want to put your best foot forward and, you want to make them feel welcome and maybe get a little butterflies because you're talking to a new person and you want them to love your practice and love Dr. Rice. And, there's no better place for them to be. So I did a tour. I would meet them at the door and walk them around. This is our reception area. Notice I didn't call it a waiting room because, we don't wait. We wanted to have a good connotation to it. I'd walk them back. And it's funny, when I worked for Heather Martinson, she was very into occlusion. And I loved it because in our consultation room, we'd have a crocodile head, and then we'd have a llama skull and we'd have a human skull. So I'd walk them back and I'm like, should you need to have any treatment done, we'll come in this private area and talk. And they'd see the crocodile and the llama. And I'm like, don't worry, we don't treat pets on Tuesdays, only on Thursdays. So it was kind of funny, haha. But she would have all of her certifications up and then the assistant, I'd have my ADOM stuff up and I'd walk through and it feels so fun because you're welcoming them into your home and they're meeting your family. Think about this. This is all stuff for first dates. And once it's done, you want it to come back, Now I will say this, there are some we don't want them to come back, and they are the ones that always do. They prepay, they always show up, and they always want the most dentistry. So I like to call those prickly pears. We got to love on them too. But yeah, I love the new patient. And what I want to do is I want to be married to them for 30 years. I want them to be married to the practice for 30 years. So I don't know if this is along the lines you were teaching. I'd love to hear what you were talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And then the concept of every relationship, that's when we put our best foot forward. So it's not only a great time for us to do that and impress people, it's also a really good time for us to set boundaries, to orient patients, to kind of frame our story of who we are and what works here and what doesn't work here. It's the best time to make sure patients understand that they need to show up for their appointments, that they need to be on time because, hey, it's our first date. And then the other side of the coin for me has always been, don't forget how you treated somebody on that first date. Continue to treat them with that same level of, patient service so the relationship doesn't go stale, because we all worry about bringing all these new patients into our practice when lots of times the back door is open and there's 20 people walking in and there's 7 people walking out. And boy, it's so hard to go make new best friends. Let's make them and let's look at keeping them.
Yeah. Side note, when I talk to doctors, and I'm in hundreds of practices every year, and I talk to them, they're like, "Oh, I need more new patients. And I always ask, why? Do you need them because you want to grow? Or are you trying to keep your head above water?
Yeah.
And I usually hear, Well, a lot of times they won't admit they're trying to keep their head above water. And then I get to look at their numbers. I'm like, oh, you're trying to keep your head above water. And I'm like, we got to seal up that back door. We got to seal that up. So there's a reason they're leaving. They're leaving. And I don't know about you guys. I know, Dr. Rush, you would know how much it costs to bring a new patient through the front door before you even touch them, before they're even in an operatory and that operatory is no longer sterile. I mean, it costs a lot. We spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of effort, our logo, our branding, our community service. You know, there's a lot we do that goes into bringing them in, and we want to keep them. Even the prickly pears I was just talking about, we want to love on them too. I love what you said about boundaries. I love that because you do. Like, we're here waiting for you every time you have an appointment. We expect you to show up. Just like when you have an appointment, you expect Dr. Rice to be here, right? So, you do want that. But then there's also those patients that have been there for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you, my husband still texts me, hey, may I take you on a date Friday night? And we've been married. So I just texted him yesterday. I said, I have the cutest man that I get to go on a date with for New Year's Eve. And he said, I'm just as excited. My date's just as cute. You still want to, you still want to have that kind of fun and still show that love, again, in the most platonic way. But I liken her patients that have been there for years to, I think of my grandparents. They were married for 60 years before they passed. And, we've got to love on those patients. We still have, the relationship is growing. So by this time, we know the new patient, but think about those new patients that turned into those great patients for years. All about their kids and their kids graduating from high school and college and marriage and grandkids. And then the grandkids are now graduating from high school and college. So we get to grow with them and love them through all of these important events. Think about how many smiles you've changed for important photos and events. And I can still think of stories, and I still run into patients at the grocery store and I'm like, oh, you finally got you got your veneers done. I can tell they're beautiful. And they're like, oh, you can tell. I'm like, I can tell because I know you. And it's fun to celebrate them, even though I don't get to see them every day, and hug them and love them. So you can't forget. It's almost, I want to say it like this, but then I don't want to take the importance out of it. You need to treat that patient that's been there for years like they're a first date every time they come in.
I couldn't have said it any better. You really, really do, because we're so focused on that first date to, one, make a good impression, but two, to also learn so much about somebody so we can treat them the way they'd like to be treated instead of maybe the way we'd like to be treated. We focus so hard on that. We have to remember to continue to do it. So I love this connection. I love dentistry in the dating game. I love the concept of new patients and being an excellent first dater. And once we're married, to just keep on dating. Deana, that was really fun. Thanks so much. And I'll see you back here next time.
All right. See ya.